all level of politics, you know, from your current position with New York City, to the state of New York, to the federal government. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've learned about the differences and similarities between the various levels?
Sure. So when I worked on the Hill, you know, coming out of college, you know, you thought the world was just controlled by Congress. And in my education at Cornell and in my you know, earlier education in Texas, they didn't teach us the way we should be taught, and that's why I'm glad we sit on the school board. But you know, our country, you know, was created by states, and the locus of power rests within the states. The states gave certain powers to the federal government to create the federal government, and the federal government controls your life on a few clauses of the Constitution, including the Commerce Clause and the Necessary and Proper Clause. The rest of that, everything else works at the local level. And so, you know, when decisions are being made, you know, think about your state as like the parent corporation, and everything else is subsidiary. In fact, if you think about how, like, you know, when people came to this land, they received charters from the king or queen. I mean, those charters are corporate documents, basically, like if you look at how that works. And so, the way I've come to understand, you know, I've come to appreciate government is, you know, at the state level, I mean, after leaving Congress and coming back to New York, was just how much ability you have to shape your lives. And, you know, the state of New York's budget is, what, $160 billion now? New York City's budget is about $80 billion. And, you know, when you come down and you make these decisions, and the more local you get, it's not that those decisions at the local level just stay local, or organizing at the local level stays local. It has a cascading effect. So when you are organizing, say, for a city council seat, that city council seat, if you look at a map, also sits within an assembly district, right? That also has a Senate district. They may overlap, there may be, but so whatever organizing you're doing has an impact as to who represents you at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level. And so I think one of the greatest lessons I took in my experience, whether federal, state, or local, is that organizing at the local level doesn't mean that it just limits you there, but it really pays dividends in your ability to impact and shape policy, whether it's Congressman Tonko, or it's Assembly Member Fahey, or it's your, you know, your town supervisor, or it's your sheriff. Whoever it is, that level of organizing matters. Don't think that your efforts are wasted or are limited. You know, a lot of people, this is becoming more common now, but it's like, you know, think global, act local. And I think that if you think about it that way, I think we'll go really far.
Thank you. Lisa, the next question is to you, and it's a little bit of an introduction to that. I'm an immigrant. The sanctuary city issue is very dear to my heart. For people who are, I'm sure people here are quite familiar with that issue. The biggest concern that people who are like me, who believe that sanctuary city is the right way to go, is that if somebody called the police or local services, they don't have to fear that their immigration status will be questioned. And they can call their local authorities without any fear of being apprehended based on what's going on in their lives. And in my opinion, that makes a city safer. So, unlike Albany, Schenectady has not declared itself a sanctuary city. I know that you had presented a resolution asking Schenectady City Council to declare itself a sanctuary city, which did not prevail. Can you tell me why you decided to put forth this resolution in support of immigrants like me?
Sure. Before I do that, I want to just touch on two really important things that we were chatting about. First of all, I was 46 when I ran for the first time for city council. So we talk about younger people getting involved, but I was no spring chicken when I decided to get involved for the first time.
Secondly, 56 now, so
yeah, going back. Secondly, I said, it's alarming to me how comfortable people feel in saying to you, I don't vote, I don't believe in it, which is a huge topic that we can't get into. But I can tell you that in our last city council race, the first 2 vote getters were within 1 vote of each other. 1 vote. It counts. It does. So please, vote, please. It's important. So anyway, on to the sanctuary cities issue. This was a huge issue in Schenectady. I respect all of my colleagues, but we weren't able to find a commonality. More importantly than that, when you talk about being a public servant, it's so important. It's not only about how I feel, it's about how my constituents feel. And we had a very well-organized, large group of people coming to our council meetings, cycle after cycle after cycle, expressing themselves with creativity and eloquence and certainly intelligence. I mean, the points that people were coming across were just so, things that I never even thought of. And so, the only other time I've ever seen that much action in the council room was with regard to our animal shelter in Schenectady, and also with regard to the casino in Schenectady, which are big issues. So to me, this issue was tremendous. I put it on the agenda at the disappointment of some of my colleagues because they felt like it wasn't a local issue. And I feel like all issues are local issues. We have had people taken by immigration in Schenectady. So why is that not important? We have a diverse community, so why is that not local? Why is that not important? At the end of the day, there were 4 people, which is the majority vote of the council, who put forth a resolution that was supplied and written by a mayor in Florida. And it was very impersonal. It was very cookie cutter. It kind of said, well, we want people to be safe, but it's not really, we want immigration reform at the federal level instead of doing something locally. Another colleague and I put forth some additional language that came right from our constituents that were coming to the Grail to express themselves. And the 4 people with the generic resolution refused to include any of that language in the resolution. And so the resolution passed as it was, which did not name Schenectady a sanctuary city, which did not tell our immigrants who may be in a situation of domestic violence, who may be personally at harm, that it was safe to call the police and get help, that it was safe, that they didn't have to jeopardize their own personal well-being because they were afraid they were going to be taken by immigration or asked what their immigration status was. And to me, it was a terrible disservice to the citizens of Schenectady because their voices were heard loud and clear, but they weren't included. And as public servants, I say shame on them. I'm sorry, I can't say it any other way. In that situation, I respect my colleagues. I have people who care and love the city of Schenectady very, very much, who do great things for the city of Schenectady. But in this situation, as public servants, they failed. Why was it important for me to bring that forward? I guess for some of the reasons I just said. Number 1, our constituents felt very strongly about it. Number 2, we have personal safety issues at risk. And number 3, I love the people in my city, and I want everybody, every single person, to feel safe and welcome and at home.
At that time, we will conclude our panel, so we stay within our allotted time. And that is from you, Jennifer. And it's a simple one, because it's something that only you can answer, nobody else can answer. Okay, but for you it's simple, for me it's not. How are school board meetings compared to UGE meetings?
That's a good question.
I'm not sure with the school board, there's actually a lot of restrictions or how do you say it, like rules to follow for those meetings, right? So one of the rules is that all the meetings have to be public. So if you haven't been to a school board meeting, I highly encourage you to do that. All of them are mandated by law that they have to be public. Some schools actually videotape their meetings and put it online, like YouTube, so people can watch after. If people wanted to videotape it or record it, there's no law that says they can't do that. So that's definitely one way for you to be just more aware of what's happening in those meetings. There's actually a I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but there's a law, or there's something that tells me, like, as I started learning everything, that you're actually not allowed to. So we have 7 people, right? You're not allowed to meet those people, even 4 of those people. So that would be a quorum, right? So if you had 4 out of the 7, say just at a bar or at a restaurant, then you're not allowed to talk about school board stuff, because that would be not a public meeting, because you're in some location and you're discussing things. All of the discussions have to be completely open to the public, so people can know what are the issues being discussed, how they're being discussed, who's talking about what, right? So I think from that perspective, it's very different than GE, because obviously, all of our meetings in GE are private, and you're only like invite basis. So in this case, you actually have a voice as well, in addition to just listening to the meetings. All of the meetings have I don't think it's mandated by law, but in this community, we do this, and most school districts do this. But there's a public comment section, usually in the beginning of the meeting. So if you have anything you want to bring up to the board, just to have everybody be aware of it, whether it's the buses or school lunches or whatever it is, there's a section where you can just voice your opinion and just say, hey, I'm really concerned about this. So anybody can come and do that. And even if you don't come to the meeting, you can always write an email to your board. You can write a letter to your board, because we represent you, right? So just like any public official, where we have constituents and we represent you. So all of our contact information are listed on the website, phone number, email, everything like that. So even if you don't make it to a meeting, contact them if you have a concern about the school. The response might be, okay, you have the issue with the teacher, go talk to the teacher first, right? We're not going to be able to solve all of your problems, but I think when people complain or have issues or hit roadblocks, the school board is actually a good place to voice your concerns, and there's no guarantee that, just like any public office, there's no guarantee that, that person is going to solve your problem like right away, but it makes a big difference when your voice is heard.
Thank you. One last thing, and then
Even if you don't have children in school, I think it's very important that you know where your property tax dollars go. In the city of Schenectady, about 32% come to the city, about 17% go to the county, and more than 52% go to the school district. So even if you don't have children, you have a vested interest in how the school district is spending your money. So something also good to pay attention to. And because I need to leave early, if you go to the City of Schenectady website, my cell phone number and my email address is also there. I welcome any of you to contact me with questions.
well, that's very generous. I also want to thank our audience for being so good. Once he's done talking, come on to the podium. Thank you, everybody.